One man, one Murloc, one giant angry badger. This is Blue Please. It begins now. Yes, indeed, folks. Welcome to Blue Please on WoW Radio with myself, Toller Biscuit. The date today is the 17th of April, 2009. It is 8 p.m. in the British Isles. It is 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and it is other times in other places. And this is the one and only, as far as I'm concerned at any rate, endgame show in the world ever. Because none of the other shows talk about it. Well, WoW Things Considered kind of does, and Casually Hardcore sort of does. If you can really talk, it's like, it's too hard, I'm really casual. Shall we do some endgame? Yes, let's do some endgame. Let's go run the Oculus, and we'll do it on heroic this time. Sorry, that was my best impression of Gnome Wise. Evidently, most of you do not know that he is in fact 2 feet tall. All of the stuff that we showed you on the camera from BlizzCon, all that kind of thing, not really him. Just the suit. Just a suit. What have we got coming up for you in the show today? Well, if you can't already guess, then you haven't been listening to this show for very long. We like to do the endgame stuff. Oh look, they just released like one of the biggest endgame patches known to man. So, what you're gonna hear? You're gonna hear about 1.5 hours of raid talk. Yes, indeed, we're talking Ulduar the entire show. Mostly. Like, about 90% of the show. Aside from a couple of things. Like, we have a special contest to announce. That's going to come on a little bit later on. I shall tell you about that. It is your chance to win a copy of the brand new book, Arthas, the hardback edition. And that will be coming up a little bit later on. You'll find out how to do that just a little bit later on in the show. However, we do have a lot to get through, so we should probably get started. I must warn you that I appear to be suffering from a relapse of the stomach bug that had me under for 4 days starting on, like, Sunday of last week. So I'm rather dizzy at the moment, a little bit nauseous. So if I do collapse in the middle of the show and you hear a very large thud, then please call... Actually, no, they won't care. I suppose you could call an ambulance if you like. But, you know, I'm sure I'll be fine. If you hear some vomiting noises, then that'll be okay. I'll just put some music on and I'll be right back after that. Now, we don't have time to waste, so...
Mail time! That sounds like... It's mail time! Here's the mail.
Oh, it never fails.
It makes me want to wag my tail. When it comes...
I want to wail.
Yes, indeed, it's mail time, folks. That means it's time to read the mail. It's such an original feature that I'm sure no other show on the internet has ever done before. The first one comes from Gontar. The thread title, or should I say the email title, there is a thread in this email, says, it seems that the new VOA is too hard. Or at least Americans claim so. Hi TV, take a look at this link. People cry over VOA's new boss and say that it is too hard. I'm going to have this posted in the IRC channel so that you can have a look at it. Sending it over to our monkey who is Moogie today, so 3 cheers for Moogie for filling in for absent friends. So yeah, he goes on to say, if only that half of that were actually true. Now just buff the difficulty by another 200% and maybe this instance will be normal. Yeah, this is the worst thread. This is a terrible, terrible thread. Ugh. Now, the only way that I can properly simulate how this thread should be delivered would be in the most whiny possible accent imaginable. Unfortunately, I don't have Dustin in the studio today, so I'll just have to try and do my very best. And it goes something like this.
Not with this character, but for over 2 hours, silly people on the hard side cannot get tanks, etc. Because, hey, it's a PvP instance where you need 3 gear tanks at least, and then you need good healers, etc. So, VOA, which is a vast majority of PvP people, is now a PvE instance. There's no way you can bug this. We need a guild, or at least good tanks, healers, and DPS just to destroy the new boss of these farm minions. Way to go, Blizzard! This is a PvP instance where pugging is natural. Yet it's impossible for bugs. Wasted over 2 hours on that. The area would not let anyone kill the easy bugs.
Since obviously 90% of the people would have just left since you were just
Wasting our damn time. Sorry, but sure, a challenge awaiting old Robert in VOA. Yeah. The vast majority of PvP people, thanks. Anyways, my horde maze and myself, I just dinged 80 under a week ago, so no go for me. Huge fail! Easy epics, maybe if it were puggable. This is designed for at least 3 really good times, and at least 3 to 5 good handlers, and the DPS is to be a little DPS, I reckon. If you're in PvP again, that's not really possible for 90% of the pack!
Shut up! Seriously! Shut up! Stop posting small fries of Band of Death on BlackRock US. Never ever post again. Take your hands away from the keyboard. Better yet, take the keyboard away from your hands. Put it somewhere where you cannot reach it. Like, say, a blender. Something from Blendtec. Turn it on, get rid of the keyboard. Then put your fingers in the Blendtec to ensure that your bollocks never reaches the internet again. Good God in heaven.
I can't get my free tier 8.5.
Boo freaking who? It's not a hard boss anyway. Oh my God, you need DPS? Barely. You need to be able to switch targets efficiently. Yes. Do you need DPS? You need a bit. Don't get me wrong, you need to be on the ball. Do you need to be decked out to do that boss? No. And to be honest, let's face it, if you needed to be decked out, then that would be okay because you're getting the next tier of stuff. Why exactly do you think you should be able to get free Furious Gladiator stuff from an instance? I mean, for God's sake. It was nice to be able to do VOA on a week-to-week basis to plug gaps in gear, based on, of course, a complete RNG of like, oh, there's like 230 pieces of loot on this boss. Maybe, just maybe, I'll get something that's useful. Just maybe. But no. We want a free puggable instance where we get Furious Gladiators. Why does anyone support people like this? Why? I mean, they're an embarrassment to PvPers because PvPers want to earn their gear through PvP. They're an embarrassment to PvEers because they can't do basic fights like move out of the AoE and target the thing which is about to kill the raid. Oh, so bloody hard. Wah, wah, wah. I could show you a really hard instance. It goes by the name of Molten Core. Perhaps you should try it. Somehow I don't think you're gonna manage it at level 80 because you're terrible in every possible respect. Bloody Americans. I'm saying bloody Americans, but that would have happened on the EU forums as well, had anyone been bothered to post it, just they wouldn't have bothered to spell it correctly. They might have sounded a little bit less entitled, but it still would have been bad. Don't get me wrong. So, you know, it's equality in stupidity here in World of Warcraft. I'm not going to apply race to that. Ugh. God. Shut up. Do not talk about PvE if you're too terrible to do a basic boss. And it is a basic boss. And for God's sake. You want tier 8.5 and Furious for free? You're playing the wrong game. Blizzard finally got it into their head that that wasn't a very good idea. They created a boss that had at least the tiniest semblance. I mean, it's not a hard boss. The tiniest semblance of difficulty. For people who are perhaps blind, deaf, dumb, and have no hands. Literally. You DPS with your nose. Then, maybe then, it's hard. But only then. Hopeless, the lot of you. Right, we've got another email to go to, and it actually follows on quite nicely from this. At least it would have had the moderators come down on it like a ton of bricks, which is what should have happened. It comes from Daniel Kubi, also known as Polly, which, what? Polly? I'm not even going to ask, and it's spelt with 2 L's, so you can't get away with polymorph here. He says this: last Friday, a thread on the North American General WoW forums came up asking for the release date of 3.1, with the original post being, so I'm not expecting an answer on when the patch is going to come out, but I do remember a time where Blizzard announced the PTR was coming down 2 weeks in advance. This would be a sort of clear indication as to when the patch was coming out. What happened to this method? It was effective and put most of the community at ease. ANX responded with, "We'll be releasing the patch on." And then nothing else. And shortly after, Zareem commented with, "I think what ANX meant to say is that the patch is coming out at exactly..." And then nothing. A number of people appreciated the humour, however, when Monday came around, several people were unhappy with the casual responses, wanting more official and serious replies. What do you think the roles and attitudes of Blizzard forum moderators should be? Well, let me get this out there straight away. This follows up a little bit from the Ghostcrawler promised me a pony debacle from a few weeks ago. Let me get this out here right now. Ghostcrawler is the best thing to ever happen to the WoW forum community. By a long, long way. Because for once, he's someone that will tell it like it is and will not use corporate PR BS to try and fob up off as many people as possible. It's like one of his latest posts was basically replying to a thread that was claiming that the conflag nerf was a knee-jerk reaction. And his response was great, because what he basically said was, players generally use the excuse of knee-jerk when they can't come up with a proper argument. And suggesting that Blizzard doesn't thoroughly think through its decisions as regards to balance is pretty much ridiculous. And he went to go on and explain the process as comparison, say, to the DK and Holy Paladin nerfs that have been happening over time, over the last few months. He's awesome. He's the best thing that ever happened to the WoW forum community. And there needs to be like 10 of him. And more to the point, every moderator on that forum needs to do exactly the same thing. What you got to understand is that it's not just about providing your customers with everything you want, yeah? Most companies do not have that facility. They'll have a customer service center to solve problems. They'll refund broken products, but they will not, by any stretch of the imagination, go out of their way to appease their customers over a long period of time. The initial period of appeasement consists of advertising and selling a product which works. After that, they don't really care. Now, Blizzard provides a very good service in that regard. What I do not agree with is using it to pander to the community. You don't have to do that. The problem is, if you pander to them, they get worse. They get whiny, they get entitled, and they just want to demand everything. And they can't. They can't demand everything by any stretch of the imagination. They shouldn't be demanding everything by any stretch of the imagination. Seems pretty obvious to me. What has to happen, if anything, is that Blizzard does need to throw down. And I do mean it. They've got to throw down and just say, enough is enough. We are not tolerating this ridiculous behavior anymore. You guys are a bunch of whiners. You guys don't come up with proper arguments. You guys fight amongst yourselves. Why the hell should we service you in any respect if you're gonna do that? If you're gonna whine, you're gonna get smacked down by the forum moderators, by the CMs. They're gonna put you in the ground. Because they are wittier than you, they're more intelligent than you, and they're most certainly, in the case of whiners, older and wiser than you are. If you want to be constructive, then be constructive. If you don't want to be constructive, stop posting. The signal-to-noise ratio on the WoW forums, both EU and US are both guilty of this, is appalling. It's horrendous. Why do you think the serious players, as in the players who are worth anything, read EJ and post on EJ? Why do you think that is? Because that forum actually enforces their rules and has a strict set of rules to ensure that idiots don't get on there. And I will be honest, I fell afoul of their rules because I was an idiot. I didn't read all their rules. That is my fault, my problem, my responsibility. And as far as I'm concerned, Blizzard shouldn't be letting them get away with it either, because no, the forum is not part of your subscription. It's awesome, don't get me wrong, it's win, it's nice to have it. And certainly I don't agree with the whole advertising thing that's been going on there, not by a long shot. But then again, that's another story for another time, and I believe I may have already told it. But by no stretch of the imagination, the WoW forum's a good place to go now, particularly if you want constructive discussion, and that has got to change. And that's something that the player base can't change. It's nice, I've got a very small core of people on the EU forums who will smack down posts like that, but it is not enough. We can't be everywhere at once, and we're not mandated to do it. We can't stop threads from being posted, and we certainly can't close, lock, or ban. That's something the moderators can do, and to be honest, the risk of humiliation, particularly when it's blue-tracked and posted all over the internet via Blue Tracker's MMO Champion, everything to see is a good deterrent to stop stupidity and reduce the signal-to-noise ratio on the forums, which means we can get more good discussion, we can have more interaction with the devs because they're more willing to do so because you guys aren't being a bunch of tards. Would be nice, wouldn't it? My name is Toll Biscuit, and you're listening to Blue Please here on WoW Radio. When we come back, we'll be talking about the Flame Leviathan. Oh yes, the first encounter of Ulduar. It's going to get lots of coverage here on the show. We'll be right back after this one. This is by a band called Torture. It's called Sleigh Ride, some classic thrash. It's my friend Nick Huggett's band. Not only does he DJ on the metal station on Sirius XM satellite radio, but he also does a show called The Swag Show and a podcast called Gaming Nights. If you go to YouTube and check out The Swag Show, it's fantastic. Really good. Big fan of that. One of the few properly produced gaming shows that are actually, good and worth watching. Come on, if I watch it, and you know how elitist I am, it must be good. I'll be right back after this, folks. Enjoy.